Hello, my favorite English language learners. It's your favorite English teacher here, Amy Joy. And in today's video, I'm going to teach you 15 useful phrasal verbs to talk about the 2024 election. Let's get started. Number 1 is to run for. This means to compete in an election. Before Kamala Harris ran for president, Joe Biden was running. But because of a terrible debate performance, he had to step down. Which leads me to word number 2, to step down. This means to resign from a position or to quit. For example, currently in North Carolina, there is a man running for governor named Mark Robinson. Now, Mark Robinson has been accused of doing and saying some terrible things. So many people working for him have recently stepped down. They have quit, they have resigned from their positions working for Mark Robinson. And you can use this in any professional context. For example, after many years as manager, she decided to step down to spend more time with her family. She quit or resigned from her position as manager. And number 3, to come down to something. This means to be the most important factor or the deciding point in something. For example, the 2024 election will come down to the swing states, as they often determine the overall result. It's gonna come down to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is the state that everyone watches on election night because they get a lot of electoral votes and usually determine the winner. So you can say it's going to come down to Pennsylvania, or it's going to come down to the 7 swing states. Or in an everyday situation, if you are asking me what college I want to attend, I can say, I'm not really sure, I think it will all come down to the cost. So the determining factor, or how I am going to make my decision, is the cost. It'll come down to the cost. And number 4, to stand up for something. This means to support or defend a cause or even a person. For example, Kamala Harris stands up for women's rights. Or Trump promises to stand up for law and order. And in an everyday situation, you could say he always stands up for his friends when they are being treated unfairly. To stand up for something or someone. Now, before we move on to our next phrasal verb, I want to remind you, if you have found this video helpful so far, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can keep improving your English with me. Okay, our next phrasal verb is to back down. This means to withdraw or to take back a claim or an action. It means to back up and retreat. For example, Trump is known for never backing down. To this day, he still claims that the 2020 election was stolen, despite evidence saying otherwise. He made a claim in 2020 and he has not withdrawn it. He has not backed down. And number 6, to vote someone out. To vote someone out. This means to remove someone from office through voting. For example, in 2020, Americans voted Trump out of office. They voted Trump out, they voted him out. Or with Kamala Harris currently being the vice president, Trump's campaign is focusing on giving Americans reasons why they should vote Harris out. Trump wants Americans to vote Harris out. Vote her out. Next is to speak out. Speak out. This means to express one's opinion openly and publicly. For example, Kamala Harris spoke out against misinformation during the presidential debate. Or Trump frequently speaks out about unfair treatment in the media. He expresses his opinions openly and publicly. 8, to pull ahead. Pull ahead. This means to take the lead or improve in a competition. For example, Harris managed to pull ahead in the polls after the debate. Or Trump was behind at first, but he pulled ahead in the final weeks of the campaign. He pulled ahead. He pulled ahead. He took the lead. Or in another competitive context, we can say, during the race, she pulled ahead of her competitors in the final lap and won. And the opposite of to pull ahead is to fall behind. This means to lose one's lead in a competition. For example, Biden fell behind in the polls after the debate. Or Trump worked hard to pull ahead after falling behind earlier in the campaign. Next, we have the phrasal verb to get behind, which actually has a very different meaning than to fall behind. even though they both use the preposition behind. To get behind someone means to support or endorse them. You could think about yourself being behind someone and holding them up. You are getting behind them. You are supporting them. But instead of supporting them physically, you're supporting them emotionally. So for example, we could say, surprisingly, some Republicans have decided to get behind Harris even though she is a Democrat. They have decided to support or get behind her. Or Trump's former opponents decided to get behind him to strengthen the Republican Party. Even though they had some disagreements, these Republicans are getting behind him and supporting him to make the party stronger. Next, to go after someone or something. This means to target, focus on, or pursue something aggressively. For example, in Trump's campaign speeches, he always goes after Harris's policies. He focuses on them, he targets them, he attacks them. He pursues them aggressively. He wants to go after her policies to show everyone why they should vote for him. Or in another example, Harris has decided to go after undecided voters to gain more support. She has decided to focus on, to target, to pursue undecided voters and get their support. You can also use this phrasal verb in other situations. For example, she went after her dream job even though it meant moving to a new city. She went after it, she pursued it, she focused on it. Next is the phrasal verb to count on. This means to depend or rely on something or someone. For example, Harris is counting on women and young people to vote for her. She is depending on them, she is relying on getting their votes. And Trump is counting on Christians and Republicans to vote for him. He is relying, he is depending, he is counting on them for their vote. Next, to turn out. This means to attend or participate in something, especially in big numbers. For example, voter turnout was higher than expected, with millions turning out to vote. Or both campaigns encouraged their voters to turn out on election day. They want their voters to come out, to attend, to participate in the election so they can win. This phrasal verb is also used often in the context of events. So for example, over the last year, we have seen hundreds and thousands of people turn out to Taylor Swift's Eras tour. Many people have turned out to watch her perform. And lastly, we have two phrasal verbs which are synonyms, to call for and to push for. Now, this does not mean making a phone call, but rather to demand something or advocate for something. For example, in this election, Harris is calling for or pushing for a $6,000 child tax credit for new parents. And Trump is calling for, pushing for, advocating for lowering taxes on the wealthy. Now I want you to practice. Choose two of these phrasal verbs and use them in a sentence to talk about politics in your country. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something new. If you did, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to my channel so you can keep improving your English vocabulary with me. I'll see you next time. Bye!